Thank you. Welcome, everyone. It's good to see you all. Thank you so much for joining us today. Before I turn it over to Mayor Nancy Vaughn, I just wanted to say that today's conversation will be like we've had it in the past, will just be solely between our City Council, our delegation, as well as city staff, if we need to respond to any questions. So that's really, members of the public are on, as well as, I don't know if the media is on, but they're expected to be, just so you are aware. But we thank you once again for joining us, Mayor.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I am so pleased that you could be here. And let me just say that I know that Tammy Thurm is on the line and Nancy Hoffman. I don't believe other council members have signed on yet, but I do expect them to. I do want to say to our House delegation how much I appreciate the hard work that they have done this year. We've had some wins, and I hope that we'll have a couple more wins before you leave for the session. I know the session's a lot longer than you thought it would be, but you've done some really good work, and we want to recognize that. So thank you all. And is Senator Garrett on the call, or Tim?
I am here, Madam Mayor.
Garrett, if you would kick us off.
All right. Well, good afternoon, everyone. We will officially call to order the meeting of the Guilford Delegation in the City of Greensboro. I think it would be appropriate if we do quick introductions before we dive into the agenda. So we'll start with members of the delegation, then we'll go to the city. So we'll start with you, Senator Robinson.
Good afternoon. It's Senator Robinson, District 28.
I'm Michael Garrett, District 27 in the North Carolina Senate. Don't see any other members of the delegation on the call, so we'll move to the City Council.
Nancy?
Yes, Nancy Hoffman, representing District 4 in the City of Greensboro.
Tammy?
Tammy Thurm, District 5, Greensboro.
And I do expect a few others to sign on as the meeting goes on.
I think Mary Kay thought she was on, so she might be having technical difficulties.
Okay, so we expect her shortly. Senator Garrett, I'll hand it back to you.
Would you want to do city staff?
Sure. Latoya Caesar Crawford, Manager, Intergovernmental Relations.
Kostayo Jayova, City Manager. We're expecting our city attorney, either online or in person. So, turn it back to you.
Perfect. And I see, I know Representative Faircloth, RA, is with us. And I think Representative Hardister's RA is joining shortly. So, well, we'll dive right into the agenda. So, Ty and Latoya, I will turn it over to you.
Sure. Thank you so much, Senator Garrett. I would love an opportunity to take this time to reiterate our mayor and our city manager's sentiments with regards to the hard work that our delegation has already done on our behalf. We're happy to say that each one of the new legislative session items that we did introduce for the 2023-2024 session has been drafted, filed, and sponsored. And so we are super grateful for the effort that you've put forth just thus far. We do have one win that we'd love to lift up and thank Representative Faircloth. H-140 started off as a local bill in which the city of Greensboro was included and became a public bill and is now a boon for the state of North Carolina, but certainly for us locally. We will, as a result, be able to set up a a civilian traffic investigators program that will allow for us to save thousands of man hours and the equivalent of 7 to 8 police officer positions. So we are super thankful for H-140, which is now general statute, and we're very grateful for the work that's been done on that behalf. So we have two other member requests. One was actually established as a bill that was filed by Senator Gladys Robinson, S-223, for Bingham Park. We requested $32 million for a full remediation plan for Bingham Park. And we also have a member request for urban investment and remediation to the amount of $20 million to address any environmental issues as we continue to look at opportunities to redevelop downtown buildings that are currently vacant. The State Housing Trust Fund is also on our agenda, and we are hoping that based on the bill that was drafted, which is S-424, that we can take our funding back to the original balance of $50 million. Right now, the fund balance is $6 million, which is a 68% decrease from the original fund balance over the last 10 years. So thank you to Senator Garrett and the other sponsors for that bill. H-857, which is the chronic violators of the public nuisance ordinance. And we'd love an opportunity to unpack where we are with that. S-214, the conditional rental inspection program. S-450, the disposition of unclaimed firearms. And last but not least, H-468, S-178, which is an accompanying bill, and S-219, which addresses the city's ability to establish a pilot program for middle, elementary, high school speed limit camera enforcement in school zones. So I'd like an opportunity to open it up to our delegation and to our council to have conversation with regards to the other pieces of pending legislation that we've outlined. And if there's any news or updates with regards to that, now would be a great time.
Well, I'll start with S-223 since I found that. And I did hear from DQ that I believe they've appropriated $6 million, am I right, for that project? And then we're still asking for additional funds for that, for Bingham Park. And I heard from a group yesterday that they plan to help with that. I don't know. It's a medical society. I said, okay.
That's great. I said, that's great. Absolutely. Good news.
Yeah, they said to me at the we opened the Freedom Park yesterday in Raleigh. And they said that they wanted to help with Bingham Park. So hopefully, and there's one other, I've talked to IT in terms of local support. There is some interest, and I introduced it to ITG Brand's president, since the Bingham Park area was occupied by my brother-in-law, who was head of the union at Laura Lard, Kathleen Mitchell, and several of the employees of the former Laura Lard community. And a lot of those people live in that area. And so there is some interest there. And I plan to get with the city manager, and I apologize, I haven't had a chance to talk with you and get some conversation with them and with you as well, too. Can't tell you where it is, and we've continued to push it in the legislation, and until this budget raises its head, I can't tell you where it is in the budget. We don't know what's in the budget, do we, Senator Garrett?
No,
so that's where I am.
I see that Aaron has joined us, and I think
Mary Kay's trying to get in, y'all. Okay, you welcome. Bye-bye.
And I think Hugh is also on at this point.
Yeah.
And Sharon.
So Sharon, you want to introduce yourself real quickly? We've done introductions, then Mary Kay, then Hugh.
So good afternoon. Sorry I got delayed by technology or whatever it was. But this is Sharon Hightower. I am the District 1 City Councilwoman here in the City of Greensboro, obviously. Been here for 10 years, representing wonderful people on the east side of town.
And I'm Mary Kay Abuzawaiter, Greensboro City Council at Large, and I have been serving since 2011.
And hello, everybody. I am Hugh Holston, the Greensboro City Council member at large. Been serving since September of 2021. Very nice to meet you.
That is all. And I see our city attorney online.
Yeah,
Mr.
my
City Attorney?
apologies. My apologies. I won't join you all in the room. This is Chuck Watts, City Attorney.
Thank you. Senator Robinson, I want to say thank you. Thank you to all the delegation for the hard work on Bingham Park. And Sharon, I don't know if she was online when you mentioned the $6 million appropriation and the other outreach that you've done to help support that plan.
No, I wasn't. I've been hanging out in Zoom land.
Senator Robinson, could you give us a brief recap?
Yes, I reported that I did hear from DEQ and the governor's office in terms of the funds. I believe they've appropriated $6 million, and we have. I can't tell you where it is in the budget. We've made the request, but I've also had some conversations with ITG Brands, who has some possible interest, since that community was occupied by several members who were employed at Lard, including my brother-in-law, who was president of the union during that time. So I've shared the information with them during my visit there, and they're interested in talking with the city manager, city officials. So I'll get that information to you, and maybe the city manager and Sharon, we can have a meeting with them sometime in the near future. I have not had a chance to do that, so I will get the information to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And interestingly enough, we were scheduled to have an environmental justice meeting at Bingham Park. We meet every other week. The environmental justice team does. So any information you need from them, but I'll be happy to report back. We'll take $6 million and any more you can find.
Okay. What does the I will ask city manager and you, what does the city have to contribute to that, or federal government or whoever?
What the city's contribution. So what I can say is that we do have a request at the federal level as well. So we believe that there will be some appropriation at the federal level through Congressman Manny's office. We should have information soon. But from the city side, there is, it's just what we've been doing with DEQ at this point in time. We have not budgeted anything specifically outside of our man hours towards this.
Okay.
But we would like to share, am I on mute or no? I'm muted. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Sorry. We would like to share that we have made some very diligent efforts at the federal level, working directly with the EPA as well, to explore environmental justice grants. And we just received communication as early as yesterday with regards to some other potential environmental justice grants at the federal level that might be appropriate for the Bingham Park project. So we're very hopeful that we will be able to procure funding potentially at the federal level as well.
Do we have any other questions or comments on Bingham Park before we move on to the next topic?
So I would like to ask Michael, Senator Garrett. I'm sorry, Senator
No,
Garrett.
it's Michael. You come on.
And Senator Robinson as well. Would you think, how receptive would you be if a community delegation came down to have a conversation with some of you all there? because the community feels like they're kind of been left out of the conversation, even though they have not, because as representative, I've certainly advocated for them, but they also feel they have a voice and they'd like to share that voice. So what would be your suggestion on how we could proceed in that manner?
Well, I know you shared that before, and you and I talked about that, and I suggested they can always call Senator Berger and try to set up an appointment. The difficulty right now is that we're in there on limited days. Sometimes he's there additional days. Of course, Senator Garrett and I aren't, because we aren't in the decision-making body. So I would suggest that you can call his office, see if you can set up a meeting, and maybe we can come when he's available. I know we will be back the week of the 11th, specifically 13th and 14th, what we're told. But I'm sure if we're there the week of the 13th, 14th, I'm sure he'll be there on the 11th and 12th earlier that week. But you might call and try to do that.
Well, I did call his office and had a very interesting conversation with the young lady, and have not gotten a call back. That's been a few weeks back.
Okay, you got your lobbyist right there, Johnny. So see if Johnny can help you get that set up, and we'll come down.
Okay.
We have another member request that we did put forth for $20 million for urban investment and remediation. If there's anyone from the office of Representative Hardister or Representative Faircloth, we unpacked the request with them, I think, most extensively. Is there anyone that could potentially speak to that member request?
I think Juan has joined the call. Juan, do you want to unmute, and if you have anything to share?
Absolutely. Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. I do want to apologize. My internet is a little bit spotty and did miss the actual context for that request. So could that be repeated? Then I could speak.
Sure. One of the items on our legislative agenda for the 23-24 session is a request for $20 million for urban remediation and investment in our downtown. There are 20 plus buildings at this point that are vacant with a variety of different environmental issues. And in a good faith effort to encourage development in those buildings, we had asked for the state's assistance to the tune of $20 million to be able to do that, certainly for all of the reasons, economic development opportunities and the vitality of our downtown area.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, thank you for the question. We've worked with Representative Faircloth as well as Representative Ashton Clemens, Representative Pricey Harrison, to really try to segmentalize our budgetary requests. We wanted to make sure that all of the requests that were given to us by the City of Greensboro, Guilford County as a whole, weren't getting double bunked with different members. And so that's not something that our office has put forward. My gut instinct tells me that was either something that Representative Clemens or Representative Harrison put forward in the House budget requests. So I would have to defer to them. I know we've had conversations about that, but again, just the way that we ended up doing the budget process and segmentalizing and making sure that we covered the most ground possible, that was given to either Representative Harrison or Clemens, which I am noticing that Representative Harrison just jumped on this call. So I would defer to them.
Thank you so much.
That was helpful. Representative Quick, he's a member of the House delegation as well.
Correct.
I can speak on behalf of Representative Faircloth too. My name is Pascal Lutz. I'm his research assistant, and I've been working alongside him in our budget development process. Our delegation has done a really great job, like Juan said, of really segmentalizing all of our requests to where we haven't doubled up on anything. As we've gone through the member requests in the past couple of weeks, as we've gotten to that point in the budget process, the Bingham Park revitalization and the downtown vacant buildings are both things that have been on our radar, and we're working to get as much money as possible for that. But like Juan said, the delegation's done a really great job of letting us know what they need, and keeping honest about it. And yeah.
Thank you both, Juan and Pascal. That was helpful. It at least gives us some context around where we are in the process, and that there is work, of course, still being done to address funding. So thank you so much for that hard work.
So if I can jump in, one of the reasons why this is critical demonstrated itself with our Lido project site recently, where the site that with the community expected Lido to be in has a degree of contamination. And while that's on that site, we can identify multiple sites in our downtown that are just like that. Obviously, some are worse. News on Record is currently under contract. There's still newsprint on some of the printers in there. And we know that that's a huge work for the incoming developer. We can talk about our Greensboro Housing Authority site as well on Eugene and Gate City. As I'm talking, I'm actually looking at about 5 different major sites downtown Greensboro that could really deter developers from putting anything on there because of the degree of contamination. So this is the reason, the motivation for, yes, Bingham Park, but also for this amount of money in downtown Greensboro and the edge, the fringes of our downtown. So any help is a great help in pushing this forward. Thank you.
Joy, you want to lead us to the next?
Sure. So the State Housing Trust Fund, we talked about that. I talked about that at the very beginning. The current fund balance is $6 million. I know that Senator Garrett, you did draft and file S-424 along with other sponsors, Restoring the American Dream, I believe it is. And so the request is to address the 68% decrease over the last 10 years of the fund balance. And there's advocacy to take the Housing Trust Fund at least back up to its original fund balance of $50 million. And so as the budget negotiations are, of course, still moving forward, we are wondering if anyone could share where in the process the State Housing Trust Fund is.
What will be in the budget will be nothing that looks like the bill that Senator Batch and I filed. But I have been told, which I know shocks everyone. I see you laughing, Johnny. But I have been told that Senate leadership was pushing for an allocation for the Housing Trust Fund, but it's not going to be near what we need. But it is on their radar.
Senator Garrett, do you believe it'll be more than the $6 million that's currently in the fund now?
I was told somewhere between 10 and 15. That's what the Senate wanted.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
So H-857, Representative Clemens actually filed that bill for us. That is the chronic violators of the public nuisance ordinance. And we were asking for the enforcement timeframe to be changed from a static calendar year to a rolling 12-month, which would really allow for us to be much more effective in addressing repeated violators of the public nuisance ordinance. And so I don't know if Representative Clemens is on the line. I don't know if there's someone from her office that could potentially speak to that bill.
I believe Representative Faircloth and Hardister were also primary sponsors.
Yes.
Maybe Juan or Pascal could comment on it if there has been any movement.
From our side, hi, one place that's Representative Hardister's office. From our side, they're just obviously the budget proceedings have taken priority over that. I think after the budget process moves forward and comes to fruition, we'll be able to take some more policy-oriented bills. So we haven't seen a lot of movement on that from our office. Representative Clemens being the primary sponsor on that, or the lead primary sponsor would have a lot more perspective on that, more so than us. But I know it's been on our radar. I know it's something that we worked in conjunction with y'all in very early meetings at the beginning of the year, and is something that we'd be looking forward to move forward as well.
Yeah,
Thank you so much, Juan.
I would appreciate that, Juan, because that's critically important. I'd love to see the movement on that bill, because that's going to help us with some enforcement in some communities that need it, sorely need it. So thank you very much.
All right.
And thank you. Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
I was just going to say, and thank you, Councilwoman. And listen, we are happy to work with anyone on these bills and these issues that we've spoken about. Don't believe that if you email us or something, we won't respond back. We love following up with y'all and stuff. So feel free to email us or contact us at any time. We're happy to give you a response and to give some perspective as to where we are. And also that allows us to continue to push for it and say that there's a genuine interest apart from just putting it in the legislative agenda and legislative priorities for the city. There's genuine community interest and need for it as well. So I appreciate y'all.
Oh, thank you. I'll take you up on that.
And just as a follow-up to that, we will be focusing, once the budget is finalized, very specifically on H857. We believe that that's a quick win if it's something that we're able to accomplish. We're asking just for the enforcement timeline to be adjusted. So we will revisit that once the budget is finalized. We have S214, which is the Conditional Rental Inspection Program, S450, the disposition of unclaimed firearms, and H468, which has two companion bills, S178 and S219 for the pilot program for the City of Greensboro for camera enforcement in school zones. If there's anyone from the delegation that could speak to any of those.
I will speak to S450. I know when we filed this bill, everybody was aware that was going to be a very heavy lift, and what we were asking for was unlikely to pass. I think it would be difficult for the Republican majority to pass that bill, but there are ongoing conversations about modifications to that law that will improve the situation. But I don't have anything that's finalized yet to report.
Thank you, sir. Does anyone else have anything that they would like to share with regards to our legislative agenda items before we move on to the city's bills of interest?
I did follow up with the rules chair on the Greensboro bills. And during that time before the budget ensued, he promised me he had them on his desk as a priority. And Senator Berger has said that they could come out of rules, but it hasn't happened. You know how they tell us one thing. So that's how much confidence I have. But I did push as much as I could for the 214 and the speed limit and the camera as well. There were some other counties that were interested as well in the speed limit and the camera enforcement. And so I felt that might get more motion than the other one. So there might be some hope. We can't tell you until we finish the budget process. He did say that he had pulled the Greensboro bills, but we'll see.
Senator Robinson, would it be helpful if we got our school superintendent to write a letter in support of this?
Well, sure. Yeah. I mean, you can do that. And as well as you can call Mayor. Mm-hmm. You might want to call Senator Berger and remind him how critical that is. I think he knows you better than he knows superintendent. Okay. So you might want to call him and tell him how critical that is. And we tried that before as well. So
yeah, I'll be happy to reach out to him in his office and see if Superintendent Oakley could send a letter of support along as well.
Okay.
We had a city council work session yesterday, and we talked about this in detail and how important it was to help with the speed issues occurring around the city.
Yeah. And there are some other counties who have the same issue. So that's why we're hoping for some movement on that legislation. So if we take up anything after budget, and I'm not sure what that'll be, we might get a chance to get this heard.
Thank you.
But go ahead.
I would also suggest maybe if the chief would sign on to that letter as well, that would probably be helpful.
Yeah.
Okay, we can do that.
Any other comments with regards to the legislative agenda items for the 23-24 session? Okay. That would take us into our bills of interest and any updates that can be provided. I am going to refer to the Civil Service Review Board as what was S9 and what was H470, but is now general statute. The Civil Service Review Board, of course, allows for the City of Greensboro to establish a Civil Service Review Board and the ability to address decisions that would be made ultimately by our city manager and an appeal process. And we took the time to send a redlined document to our delegation prior to the decision to really explore some of the potential for modification of the language. We know that the bill, of course, is now passed. It is law, and we are now, as a city, coming together to determine over the next several months what we need to do next in terms of next steps. I don't know if there are any other updates that anyone wants to provide with regards to H470, which is now S9, which is now general statute. But if there's anything that anyone would like to share at this time with regards to the Civil Service Review Board.
Well, I guess you know that it doesn't include all the city employees. You know that, but you did not mention that.
I apologize. Yes, Senator. There is a reclassification of now what is considered classified employees to only include fire and police. You are correct.
I was disappointed to see our general service workers excluded from that. And maybe there's an opportunity for inclusion at a later date.
Well, I think at this point, those workers feel duped, if I can say that word, that they were used to get that civil service board, but they were blatantly omitted. And so after having talked to some of them, one as late as today, they questioned the process. And there was nobody to advocate for them. As part of this civil service board, of course, I'm glad to see that they are not in it. I hate that this bill is now in effect. I don't like it. I'm just going to be blatantly honest. I don't like it. And I know how it was done. This is why a lot of times people don't trust the government, because they see how things get done and how it impacts certain ones and how it is exclusive and not inclusive. And so it left out a whole group of workers who now don't feel like they are being considered. Of course, I say to them, I believe in the process that we already had. Certainly it needed some tweaks to it, and I think we can still do that to show that this process that they were not a part of is not going to be beneficial in any way anyway. So that's my 2 cents, and I just had to say it today. I'm sorry, I could not hold it, but I'm very disappointed that this bill was passed, period, because I certainly support the city manager process.
Yeah, this is Hugh Holston, council member at large. I will echo Sharon's comments. One, I was not in favor of the bill as it stood, HB 70 or whatever it was. But then to exclude half of the eligible class, so to speak, seems odd. I don't know what the driver behind that was, but you have police and fire with 500, 550 each, and then you have your other general service employees at probably at least that amount. So that's disappointing. I do have a question, because there were several iterations. I know that this bill came up and passed kind of in the dead of night. How is the fifth member of the Civil Service Board selected? Is that by the four members, and if those four cannot agree, then it comes back to council?
Could I address that really quickly,
Yes.
Councilman Holston? So the way that the way that statute now stands, it's a 5-member total, 1 member selected by City Council, 1 member selected by GPD, 1 member by our fire department, 1 member collectively by the GPD and fire department chiefs, and then the last member would be the majority vote of the other 4 members. We did, in fact, when we submitted our red line document, for consideration in terms of the modification of the language when it was a bill, we did ask for that configuration to be sort of rethought out. But as it stands now, that's the configuration of the board.
Then it's subject to council approval, I believe.
Right. So 1 by council, 1 by fire, 1 by police, 1 by the chiefs of both, and then the 5th is selected by those 4.
And there is, of course, there's a portion in there that speaks to if the other 4 members are not able to, of course, elect, then City Council would step in to make that final decision, which to some degree then means that it could be 2 members that are in fact selected by City Council.
Potentially.
Thank you.
But if those other 4 are stacked the way it can be, then they wouldn't need a majority of 4 to put the 5th person on, would they? Could it be 3? Could it be 3?
Majority of 4.
Excuse me. Say what now?
I'm so sorry, Councilwoman. I didn't hear the question. I apologize.
Okay, because I know everybody started talking. So I'm saying that based on how the 4 are stacked, okay, could it be that all 4 don't have to approve that 5th one? Or is it set up so all 4 approve it, or 3 of the 4? The majority of the 4 approve
it? Says yes, you are correct. It says the majority vote of the other 4 members. So you are correct that all 4 do not have to vote. Right. Yes, you are correct.
So that means that the one that we select would be a lamed up one anyway, because their vote wouldn't even count. Because if the other 3 vote for that 5th person, the one that council select doesn't have any authority anyway. So no, this is just set up to be a fire and police board.
I'd say the only clarification I'll make from the Senate is that we were not aware the bill had been amended or would be included in S9. Neither was the sponsors of S9, which were the people out of Cary and Wake. So it got slid in just like the school appointment, the board appointment bill. So it was that evening when we knew. So that was really John Hardiston. I did talk to him as he rode in. So you'll have to talk to Representative Hardiston about that.
Is there any recourse at all? Gladys, has there ever been a time that that a bill gets repealed or challenged by the public?
You have to talk to the attorney. I think that there are statutes that can be appealed, repealed. So you have to talk to your attorney about that process, Sharon. I don't know what would be done.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Barring any other comments regarding H470 S9, which is now general statute, S91 is actually a good news for the city of Greensboro and our state, which now bars the ability for street racing to take place in neighborhoods across the state. So from a safety perspective, that is actually a good thing. I didn't know if anyone wanted to comment on S91.
I want to say that I'm grateful because we get an awful lot of complaints about street racing and about the parking lot takeovers. And this gives us a way to at least deal with it. It allows GPD to look at the way that they enforce and gives it a little bit more teeth. So thank you for supporting that.
Does anyone have any other comments with regards to the street racing bill?
Just one, I don't think it allows for forfeiture of the cars. I wish we had gone a step further than that, but maybe we can take a look at that next year. That would certainly, I think, cut things down if people thought that it would be possible that their cars could go into forfeiture.
Just from an administrative perspective, I just want to make a quick distinction. I am referring to bills that were, of course, in that format when we started having these discussions. But I want to make the distinction. If I said Session Law 2023-97, we wouldn't know what that was. So it is Session Law 2023-97, and that is the street racing law that is in effect. It was previously Senate Bill 91.
So it would implement it in October?
Is it October?
Yes, October. I think it is. It goes into effect in
October 2023 would be the effective date. Okay. H347, which allows for the establishment of sports wagering across the state of North Carolina. The city of Greensboro continues to sort of monitor and explore other opportunities for us to participate. Anything else you want to share?
So Senator Garrett and I did get a call from the Coliseum Commission and someone else, Beard, about Greensboro being left out. And we pursued that since Greensboro has a G League, is that right? Has a G League and should be included. We've gotten commitment, and I hope it works, that it's going to be in the budget. So let's keep our eyes open. We were, we're told that they didn't really realize that Greensboro was left out. So it would be in the budget. So we hope that's going to happen. I think we might give them a call or something to urge. Of course, as far as the chairs of that, no, it's going to be in the budget, but who makes the final decisions. So
Senator Robinson, thank you. That is really good news. We have the perfect location for it, and it would be a big revenue stream that we don't currently have.
Right. And we've said that, and there was no pushback at all. In terms of Greensboro not being included. So hopefully that's going to happen.
Beautiful. And Senator Robinson, if I can also add, and Mayor Vaughn, in addition to the G League, we also have the professional bull riding, which also qualifies as a franchise here based in Greensboro.
Professional what?
Bull riding.
Oh, I didn't know.
PPR. September 22nd September 22nd through 24th, Cowboy Day. Come on. Bring your boots.
It is indeed a thing.
Bring your boots and your hat.
It is a thing. And since we've moved through the conversation, I just want to now clarify that House Bill 347, formerly known, is now Session Law 2023-42. Okay. 488. House Bill 488, Code Council reorganization and various code amendments, now calls for a separate code council, a residential code council. And we as the city of Greensboro are still unpacking what the implications of this particular bill could be. If there's anyone who'd like to expand on H488 at this time, that would be great.
488, we just did a veto override on that one, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes.
That was the one that weakens energy standards for new construction, I believe. Representative Harrison, I think you.
Oh yeah, I got some feelings about this one, and we did our best to fight that. Interestingly, there was only one proponent of this, the home builders, and then everybody else, plumbers, inspectors, the International Building Code Council, the energy efficiency groups, obviously the Enviros, those who care about climate change. We're here, and we're not going to be eligible for FEMA grants. Possibly may not be able to get eligible for FEMA funding if we have a natural disaster. It's a terrible bill. We did what we could to fight it, but I don't know. Home builders sort of won that round amazingly, considering everybody was opposed to it. But we tried our best. It's a terrible bill. Thanks for letting me rant.
Any other comments on 488?
I'll just say ditto what Representative Harrison said.
Okay. That said, it has been ratified into law. It is Session Law 2023-108. H600, the Regulatory Reform Act of 2023, which is an act to provide further regulatory relief to the citizens of North Carolina. Again, this is a bill that we are unpacking to look at the potential implications for the city of Greensboro. If there's anyone who would like to expand on H600?
The last update I recall getting on that, it has been placed on the back burner as the budget has taken the spotlight, and I even believe that the conferees have been switched out. So it looks like there's some disagreement between the House and the Senate on that. But
if you'd like,
go ahead, Representative Harrison.
I was talking to a member of the conference, the House member of the conference committee yesterday. It may come up if we come back to town next week. I asked if the House and Senate had actually met yet, and no, I think some of the leadership, Dennis Riddell and Norm Sanderson on the Senate side may be talking, but there's a chance, a good chance we'll be voting on it the week of Labor Day. And Senate loaded up with a bunch of really, really problematic provisions. I know those weren't responsibility of Senator Garrett or Robinson, but there's some terrible provisions that got added to a pretty benign House bill. And it's not clear what's going to survive it. But yes, Senator Garrett's right. The budget has taken precedence, but there's a good chance we're voting on it in 2 weeks.
All right. The time is now 2:48 p.m. We have about 12 minutes left on our agenda. And it gives us time to, if there's anything else with regards to the agenda, the budget timeline. Our delegation members did go over a budget timeline, and the goalpost now is the week of September 11th. Hoping that the goalpost does not move, but that September 11th is the actual week where we have a budget that is finalized. We went over member requests and where we are in the process. Is there anything else that anyone would like to address prior to our closeout?
LaToya, I have a question for members of our delegation. You said the budget may be the week of September 11th. Could we get an update on Medicaid expansion? What's included in the bill and when it would be implemented?
Well, that was going to be my final comment, to say that I talked to the secretary as late as yesterday, and he's extremely frustrated, of course, because that means that 300,000 people have been dropped that would have automatically gone into those people that were certified during COVID would have automatically just rolled on into the expansion. So this is causing for a lot of work for DHHS staff to get those people back into being certified for the eligibility requirements to get into Medicaid expansion, since it's going to push the time farther for them. So he's very frustrated in terms of the Senate taking so long, and we had hoped that we'd really be able to have a separate bill, a pullout from the budget, but that didn't happen. So we're just at the mercy of the budget folk. a burger and more in terms of getting Medicaid expansion. I think we will still get the funding. There is, I think he's been able to talk to the federal folk if he can get the work done after we approve the budget by October 1. But it's still a lot of work for his staff.
Any other questions, comments?
Anybody else can comment on that if you know more.
Okay, that said, we do look forward to our Q4 delegation City of Greensboro meeting. At that time, fingers crossed, we have a finalized budget and can celebrate, hopefully, monies that have been set aside and allocated for our member requests. Again, fingers crossed, and that we have good news with regards to the remainder of the legislative items on our agenda. We thank you all for taking the time to come together. Prior to us ending, if there's an opportunity for us to propose a Q4 date, Senator Garrett, are you prepared, sir, to potentially propose a date for Q4?
Well,
early,
I was
say
assuming
late October, early November.
I would suggest we look at dates, and we'll get with you after this meeting in November. We will be back in October to do redistricting. So, I don't know when in October. But October is likely going to be a busy month. So I think if we could do our Q4 meeting, maybe early November, that would be great. And if you want to propose some dates, we can query the delegation on their preference and lock one down.
Yes, sir. We can certainly do that. Any final comments at this time? Okay. That said, it is now 2:52 p.m. We end 8 minutes early. Happy Friday to everyone on the call. And thank you again to our Guilford County delegation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Everyone have a good weekend.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.